Hi, I'm David Gugino. Welcome back to another sticky lesson. Sorry about that. So today's sticky lesson is about quitting, but it's a little different. It's not about how not to quit, it's about the consequences of quitting. But first, I will start off is when it comes to quitting, that should be the last thing on your to-do list. Like, the last thing you have planned is to quit. Now, you should only quit if you obviously lose all your money, or you just quit because you're not into it, or you quit because just other stuff happens in your life. And sometimes you don't need to do this particular thing. Like, I sold insurance for a bit and I was very good at it, but the job that I had, plus that other job, the job I had before that, I was still working and I didn't need the extra money from selling insurance. Like, I didn't need it. And I was working 6 days a week, so I kept telling myself, I'm like, David, you don't need to work 6 days a week. So I quit that job. Now, I was good at it, but I also just wasn't into it. And I wasn't willing to work that much to get whatever raise it was. So I quit that job and stuck with my other job and put in more hours there and ended up making a lot more money. Because when it comes to logic or just what's better for you, that is other reasons. Those are the reasons why you should quit. Now, you should never quit because it's more comfortable. You should never quit because it even gets uncomfortable. Or you should never quit. You should most of all never quit when it gets hard. Now, the reason why you don't quit when it gets hard is when it gets harder, it means you're doing something well. Like, you're moving along. It's like I'm a competitive powerlifter, and when the weights get heavier or when I have more bad workout days than good workout days, it's just because my body is trying to get used to the weight. Like, it's harder to get used to the weight. Like, the strongest people in the world, I bet you they had more bad workouts than they did good workouts. And their best workout was during a competition. Like, in powerlifting, my best lifts have been in during competition. I've gotten all my PRs during competition. So the first reason why you should never quit, the consequence of quitting, for the first thing is regret. You will regret it because, like, now you can probably get back into it. Like this insurance job I just told you about, I could probably get back into it right after because I was good at it and I left on good terms. But with regret, if you start a business and you're really far into it but you just quit because it gets hard, then you regret, like, wow, I could have made this into a thing. I could have made this my full-time job. I could have made all this money, but I chose to quit because it got hard. Now I'm feeling regretful, or just I feel regret, and I regret just letting my business go downhill and just choosing to do something different, just choosing to be average. When you choose to be when you quit something to be average, I mean, if being average makes you happy, that's different. But if you do it because you're comfortable, like I've said beforehand, I'll be saying that over and over because I'm talking about the consequences of quitting. But that is what will happen. You will regret just quitting. And I think that's what happens with most people in life is they regret, like, choosing to be average, or they regret not even trying. That's another big thing. I mean, if you quit, that still hurts, but the biggest thing is regretting, like, not even trying. Like, people who choose to get in shape when they're senior citizens, they regret not doing it when they were younger. And then they regret it, and then they want to quit now because it's much harder because they're senior citizens. But that's not what we're talking about. Now, the other consequence of quitting, when you quit, you will regret it. And then if you regret it long enough, you will eventually feel guilt. Now, this one's very important. Why is it important? Because feeling guilty, I think the worst feeling inside is feeling guilty. Like, that's why I don't commit crimes, because I would feel guilty. Like, people who are really, really nice will feel guilty after doing some things, but that's for a whole another story. But anyway, not another story, but that's the reason why you will feel guilty is because you will just feel guilty of, like, hey, telling yourself I'm going to quit and just quitting. Like, the guilt is from the quitting. It's not from because it got hard. It's not from because you were average. It's because of how, wow, I chose to quit. And that's like the reason why it's important is because it's the decision you made. And that's what makes feeling guilty worse. Like, it wasn't an accident. It was out of your own doing. And sometimes it was even planned out. You planned out, like, well, I'm going to work this, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to quit. That is the other thing. Sometimes if it's a premeditated quitting, it actually feels a lot worse, because then as stuff goes on, you're just like, wow, I chose to quit and I feel really guilty. And that's the thing, though, the guilt won't last like a couple of weeks. It will last for a long, long, painful time. That is the other thing, is that time sometimes does not fix it. As a matter of fact, time actually makes it worse. It's like during the new year, when you have a New Year's resolution and you try to do something you put time off on, and you're still putting time off of it, then you're just like, wow, when am I going to get to this? It's like with reading books. I've read about 70 books since I graduated high school. And I graduated high school 3 years ago. And my friends are like, I haven't even touched a book since high school, and I've read like 70. Now, unfortunately, nobody cares. It's just my own accomplishment. But the point is, when people are like, hey, I'm going to read, or I'm going to improve on this, and they choose not to, and they just let time go by, that feels bad. But if you have regret and guilt all together, and you let time go by and choose not to fix it, then you just feel worse. It actually makes you very, very depressed. That's why when you start something, you should only stop when it's finished. Like if you start a business and you're at the business point where you can quit and make it your full-time job, that's awesome. Keep going. But then you're going to have your own downfalls. You're going to have times where your business doesn't do well and you don't make as much money as you want to. Or you'll even get in debt, or you won't be able to pay off certain loans, or you should actually never take out a loan, but anyway, you won't be able to pay off certain debts, and you won't be able to pay for certain things, and then you may have to stop because you run out of money. And that just happens. Like, failure happens. Now, we won't get super in-depth with that into this video, but failure just happens. It's a part of life. You should never be afraid to fail because it happens. The most famous people in life have huge failures. And it's like, you're just like, wow, some people have it much worse or fail a whole lot worse than I did. Eddie Hall, the strongest man in the world, failed at the deadlift world record one time. And he failed at it. He picked it up, had it up to his waist, and he had the record, but then he dropped it. And that caused him not to get the record. It's not like he didn't pick it up. He picked it up, but what screwed him was he dropped it. And even Jim Carrey, who failed like over 20, 40 times, and then eventually made it. It's like, it makes you wonder, like, wow, I failed once or twice, and I feel horrible. I feel like my life's going to end because I failed twice. There are people out there who have failed 40, maybe 50 times through their whole lives, and they still move on. But quitting is not failure. Quitting is out of your own doing. Quitting is, now obviously in the sports world, if you have an injury and someone tells you have to quit or it'll get worse, that's different. Like, you have to. But the quitting I'm talking about is like just out of your own doing. Like, you choose to quit because you either choose to be average, you choose to stay comfortable, you choose to not continue to do things when they get hard, and you just don't like being uncomfortable. And that's what happens. But that's just, it's a part of life. Like, you're going to have to be uncomfortable. You should do something uncomfortable every day. It's like with working out. I love to work out, but there are days where I don't want to work out, but I do it anyway. But anyway, this was my video. So if you try something this year, don't quit at it. Just start to finish. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a good day.